Welcome to Alaskwatch, the show all about Bigfoot in the great state of Alaska. I'm your host, Beans Baxter. So lace up your boots, zip up your coat, and come with me on an adventure as we explore all things cryptid in the last frontier. Hey guys, welcome to Alaskwatch. Getting this episode out a little late. I've been trying to drop things on Fridays, and last week, obviously, there was no episode. I had ran up to Anchorage to attend the Arctic Comic-Con and didn't get time to throw one out. And then this week, the week just got away from me, and I realized like it's Friday and I have nothing to drop. So I've got to record something today. Hopefully I can get it out on Saturday. So I apologize for that. And the next, just to let you guys know, the next couple of weeks are going to be a little busy for me. So who knows when I'm going to be able to drop stuff. I'm going to try and get together again with the Boreal Bigfoot research group and do another collaboration where we all get together and talk about something. We were floating it a few weeks ago, trying to get together, and obviously all of us have different schedules. It's almost impossible to get all of us together at one time. Where when this person's free, this person's not, vice versa. So we'll see what we can do. Maybe I'll get a few of them on here for us, but time will tell. It's summer. Everybody is, or well, it's not summer, but it's coming, and the weather's getting nicer. We've had some pretty steady 40-degree days. I dare say it's gotten up to 50, maybe down the hill from me in town where the sun was shining. Although I went outside the other day, I'm like, okay, it's May. Beans is going into summer mode, and I walked outside. I think I was taking the dogs out to potty or something, and I had on some like athletic shorts, and I'm standing out there kind of shivering. And my wife is like, "Why don't you put on some pants? It's too chilly for pants." It was like 38 degrees, something like that. And I was just like, "It's May. It's May." Like I want to wear shorts. It's May. So we'll see. We had a couple of really nice days, and now we're right back to clouds and rain. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what kind of summer we're going to have. I feel like we're due a nice one. I feel like the last few haven't been that great. So who knows what's going to happen? I don't think you can. I don't think you can really accurately. I think you can predict the weather up to a certain point, but then like you can't say like next year is going to be this kind of year or this kind of weather. I think it's just too hard to predict. So the Arctic Comic Con, I wanted to go up to Anchorage, and I wanted to see when I was up there, I wanted to see the Sasquatch Sunset movie. It's only playing up there, and I wanted to do a review of it for the podcast. And I'm sorry to say I could not get to see it. I really don't know what the deal is. It was playing at like 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. And then on Saturday, the day of the Comic-Con, there was one showing at like 1 p.m., which is right in the middle of like that was during the Comic-Con. So I couldn't go during at 1. And then my only other option really was at the 10 at night. And I'm not opposed to going to the movies at 10 at night, but I drove the 4.5 hours on Saturday to get there, went to the Comic-Con and walked, I don't know, like 5 miles or something at the Comic-Con, and then got out of there at like 6, 7 o'clock. And by that time, after the driving and the walking, all I wanted to do was to go back to my Airbnb and go to bed and just relax and just chill out. So I was like, I'm not going to make no 10 o'clock showing. I guess maybe I could have tried to take a nap and then got up and gone. And that's another thing. I was at an Airbnb, it was at some lady's house. It's a really nice place. We've used it a lot of times before. It's a very reasonably priced place. A lot of times, especially in the summertime, when it starts to hit tourist season for a hotel in Anchorage, you're looking at like $300 for a night. So, this is very reasonably priced, and she's a very nice lady. Although I don't think we've stayed at her house like half a dozen times, and we've never met her. And I really didn't feel right, like sneaking out of her house at 10 o'clock at night to go see a movie and then trying to get back in and not waking people up and stuff like that. So I decided just to pass, which I was too tired to do it anyway. The going in and out of the Airbnb is just an excuse, because really I was done, son. Didn't want to move around anymore that day. But it was pretty cool. They had a few guests there that I wanted to see. Unfortunately, Jay Muse from Jay and Silent Bob was supposed to be there. He ended up canceling, and then they replaced him with Brian O'Halloran, who is Dante from Clerks, from Dante and Randall. So that kind of made up for it. But Ming was going to be there this year again. My wife and I spent quite a bit of time talking to Ming last year. I talked to him a little bit this year. He was actually emceeing things, so he wasn't like hanging around where you could talk to him. I was funny. I'll tell a quick story. I know nobody cares about this. Everybody's here for Bigfoot, but fast forward like 5 minutes. So I'm standing kind of like, I didn't realize it, but Ming had his little booth set up next to the stage area, and they were doing like interviews and panels there on the stage. And I saw Ming, and I'm like, oh hey, and I had on a shirt from a podcast that he does. So he sees me, he recognizes like, oh, this guy wants to talk to me because he's got on a TESD shirt. So he's like, oh hey, how are you? Like, you came to see me again. And I'm like, oh yeah, hey, how you doing, Ming? And we shook hands and we're talking. And I had some questions I wanted to ask him. And we're chatting, and I'm getting ready to like ask him my questions, and he kind of looks behind me and he goes, "Oh, here he comes." And he turns around and he walks off like really fast, and he like runs up on the stage. And I'm like, what does he mean? Here he comes. And I turn around, and there's this huge like Samoan guy coming towards me. And I'm like, who is this guy? And the guy looks at me and nods and just strides right past me. And then Ming's up on stage and he's like, ladies and gentlemen, here's a a Hall of Fame wrestler, Rikishi. And everybody's like clapping and shit. And I'm like, that was Rikishi, the wrestler. He almost bumped into me. So yeah, which I know of Rikishi. I don't, I haven't been a fan of wrestling since I was a little kid, like back there in like Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper days. But yeah, I'm not, I don't follow the wrestling at all, really. There's a few wrestlers I can recognize: John Cena, Stone Cold Steve Austin, um, the Undertaker, stuff like that. But most of my wrestling knowledge is from like the 80s. So I saw this guy coming towards me, and I was like, who is that? And it ended up being Rikishi. So I didn't really get to chat with Ming as much as I wanted. I went back a couple times, and he was always on stage with somebody doing some kind of panel or something. I chatted with Brian O'Halloran a little enough. It was funny because I get there and I did the same thing the last year we went. Anthony Michael Hall was there, and I was like, man, maybe I should take my copy of The Dark Knight and see if he'll sign it. And I'm like, there's no way, like, the line's going to be too long. I'm not going to want to wait in that huge ass line and have him sign the DVD. And I kind of talked myself out of it. And then we get there, and I noticed when we were like talking to Ming, like I'm looking down, they have all the celebrities on like one row, and I'm like looking down the row, and I'm like, there's nobody down there. Like, he's sitting there twiddling his thumbs. Like, there's nobody down there. Like, I could have went down there anytime and talked to him. So I was like, I'm not going to do that this year. If there's anybody else, I'm going to take something. And I got a couple of comics signed by some artists. There was a guy there that genius marketing decision. Like he had a bunch of comics that were done by guests of the con that were guests there. So if you didn't have anything in your collection that they had done, you could buy something from him and have them sign it. And that was, I told the guy, I'm like, that's a genius, because last time I had ordered some books that Ron Mars had written to get him to sign, and it's partially my fault, but partly not. They got shipped. I thought they were going to ship priority. Like when I bought them, it said priority shipping. I paid like $8 for the shipping, and then the dude shipped a media mail, and I'm like, and I contacted him like, dude, this is going to work. Like, I need these books in like 2 weeks, and it's going to take these things a month to get here. And the guy was nice about it. He was cool about it. He ended up refunding me my money for the books. And in fact, they're still over there. Like I've got them behind me over here, like still in the package. But I ended up having to go to like Bosco's and dig through their back issues to find something by Ron Mars that I could get in the sign. So I was like, I'm not going to do that this year. And I did it. Like I started digging through because Humberto Ramos was there, and I'm like, surely in my like thousands of comic books, I have something by Humberto Ramos. And I dug and dug and dug and dug, and I had stuff. So he's mostly famous for Spider-Man. And I'm like, okay, here's some Spider-Man stuff. And it was before his run. And then I dig some more, and I'm like, oh, here's some more Spider-Man stuff. And it's like after his run. So, because like what happens is my interest in comics like waxes and wanes, and I come into it and get out of it, and I miss things. And then apparently, I miss these like important arcs that I'm like, oh man, I wish I had that guy's stuff. And I'll have the stuff before it and the stuff after it, but I won't have that guy. So that happened. And as luck would have it, there was a gentleman there that was selling books from most of the attendees, the artist attendees. So it worked out. I ended up able to get some. I got a very reasonable price, I might add, and got it signed. And yeah, it was kind of cool. It's just kind of cool walking around, seeing a lot of the different booths. They have a really cool Ghostbusters, like Frozen North, or I don't know what they're 907 Ghostbusters like detachment here, and they have, how like they have the Stormtrooper Legions. Well, apparently they have like Ghostbuster franchises in different places of people that like to cosplay Ghostbusters. They had a really cool setup. It was up on the second floor, because last year I went, and they were talking about like free Monster energy drinks and stuff, and I'm like, my wife and I had already left, and I'm like online looking at this, and I'm like, they were giving away monsters. Like I didn't see no monster booth. Well, it was up on the second floor. Or, I'm sorry, third floor. It was up on the third floor. And so this year I was like, I'm going to get my free monster. So uh, when I got tired and wanted to take a little break, they had like a little lounge up on the third floor. So I made my way up there and got a free monster. I think it was like a fruity, like a peach drink or something. And it was pretty refreshing, which I'm not, you guys know me. I'm a rock star guy. But Monster will do in a pinch, and especially if it's free. And so I got my free Monster. What else did I do there? Man, I just checked out the booths. I chatted with a couple of local artists. There's a gentleman, I believe, I'm gonna screw his name up. I think it's Tad Galusha. I think that's right. He has worked for IDW and a few other companies. I actually bought one of his books, had him sign it. He worked on a Bubba Hotep graphic novel, which, if you guys are familiar with the Bubba Hotep movie with Bruce Campbell, if you're not, you got to check it out. It's freaking amazing. So he did like I don't know if it's a prequel or I guess it's a prequel type book to Bubba Hotep. He did some of the art in it, and I picked that up, had him sign it. And apparently he's very interested in Bigfoot and cryptid stuff. And we chatted for quite a while. I might have him on at some point on here. And he lives here in Alaska. He's traveled over the Pacific Northwest. I believe he's had I'm not sure if he's comfortable calling it a sighting, but he's had something that he believes may have been a sighting. So we might have him on here to talk about it. And I also found a local comic company. I say local, but it's you know it's Alaska, so it's like hundreds of miles away. I believe it's called Fishhead Soup Comics, and they make a bunch of comics about Alaska. And one of them is Wild Men of Denali, and it's kind of a science fiction type story. Which I have the book. I haven't read it yet. In which Alaska, everybody that lives in Alaska basically lives in these domed cities, and it's kind of a very sci-fi tale. It sounds like, and there's like Bigfoot outside the cities or wild men, as it were. So I picked that book up, had the illustrator sign it for me, and I'm gonna check that out, read it, and see how if I like. I actually posted a picture of it on, I believe, the Last Watch Instagram. If you want to take a look at it, the cover art's pretty interesting, and it's a pretty thick book. It was a little pricey on the pricey side, but I think it's about the size of like a graphic novel. So, and I don't know if it's a complete story for ends on a cliffhanger or not, but we'll see. So yeah, I had that going on, and then next weekend I've got a commitment that I've got to do out of town. I've got to go and do some dog sitting for some family. So may or may not get some content next weekend. Not sure. I want to try and get it out before I have to go dog sitting. If not, uh, I'll try and get it out maybe early next week. What else is going on? Man, we're getting busy. Then like I think the week after the dog sitting is a fairly normal week. And then I think the next week is Chuk, Robboy, and I are heading out to check some places out, to check some stuff out. My first real foray out this year into the woods, and I'm sure we'll produce some content out there from that for you. We'll get some good stuff. I'm going to try and take my podcast recorder, my audio recorder, and maybe get something of us sitting around the fire talking or something. We'll see how that goes. I used it at the Boreal Bigfoot Expo when we did our live stream out there, and I think it worked pretty well. So I've got to justify buying that piece of equipment. So I've got to try and use it, find a use for it again. And also back to Bigfoot stuff. If you guys haven't seen it, Will Grassman Ulmer has a new video out. It just came out today of something inside baseball. He told me about it, when it happened or fairly soon after. And so I knew it was coming. But he has a video out. What did I see? I believe is the name of it. Him and Aaron were up at Sullivan Lake, which is an area. If you go back and watch some of my expeditions into Washington, you'll see me in that area. Like I've been there. I know exactly where he's talking about. And him and Aaron were in there poking around, and Will saw something. And I don't know. It's intriguing. I think he probably saw a Bigfoot, but there's a little twist to it. I don't want to ruin the story, but there's a little twist to it that it's just enough to make you go, well, was it? It's almost like man, why won't the universe just let me have this? like why can't this just be it? There's just almost, there's like a little like, like what was that? Was it this or was it that? Even though it doesn't seem at all possible that it's this other thing, maybe it was. So it's just, I don't know. It's just it's this curse of Bigfoot, the curse of Sasquatch. Um, why can't we just have a good sighting and no ambiguity about it? Ambiguity. But all right. So got a couple of things I want to talk about this episode. I've been rambling. God, I've been rambling for like 20 minutes about comic books and shit. So many people have probably tuned out. I know I was talking about being sick a couple of weeks ago, and some lady was like, "This health update sucks. Bye." Like, I'm leaving. like I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sick, I'm dying, and people are like, don't care, shut up, talk about Bigfoot. So I posted this on my Instagram and my TikTok, which apparently might be going away soon. Uh, we'll see. I could there's a I could talk about that for a long time. But we won't. We'll stay on topic. So I posted this on my Instagram and TikTok. This is a video that I got off my doorbell camera, my security camera. I have several around my property, and I can't remember what made me check it. I didn't get an alert. I was looking for something. Oh, I think there had maybe been a moose or something that had come through, and I was trying to see if I could find out when the moose went through. And I ended up like stumbling upon this. Uh, I'm gonna play the video, but there's not really any. There's nothing there that I can see. But I'll play it for you. But what's really interesting about this is the audio. And if you're listening to this on an audio podcast, the audio is not going to come through on the audio podcast. I'm going to have to come back in and add it later. So I'm going to it's probably going to jump into the audio, hopefully on the audio podcast. But for those of you watching on the video, I'm gonna start it right now. And I suggest if you're maybe listening with headphones might be best. I don't know how this is going to sound. I tested it out earlier and it sounded a little faint, but I did like turn the volume all the way up, so hopefully it doesn't blow us out of our chairs. All right, so I'm going to add this and hopefully you guys can hear it. All right, so that was the video that was taken from my security camera. If you could hear that, when I first heard it, I thought that it was some kind of I thought it was a mechanical sound, like a hinge or something squeaky, being maybe blown in the wind. But honestly, I mean, I've lived here for, oh geez, 15 years, maybe longer. I don't know. And there's nothing out there that would make that sound. Like there's no metallic things out there. There's no rusty hinges. There's nothing, the gutters don't make that sound. So, and then if you listen to it pretty close, you can tell there's kind of like a guttural aspect to it. Like I think that's coming from an animal. And I personally, I think it's probably it took me a little bit to figure it out, but I think it is actually coming from a sandhill crane. We do have them around here. And then I think it was the day after I had captured this. I was walking the dogs and I heard cranes nearby. They weren't making that sound, but they were flying around and doing their like dinosaur calls. So I think that's what it was. I think it was probably excuse me, a sandhill crane, but it's not on the camera, which I mean, it could just be around the house on the right hand side there, or it could be. Um, well, actually, no. If it was on the left hand side, I would have seen it because it would be on the driveway camera. But yeah, it's weird. I've never heard a sandhill crane quite make that sound. I've heard them make some odd sounds before, but nothing quite like that. And yeah, I wanted to share it and see what your guys' thoughts were. And I've heard some pretty wild stuff. Actually, somebody said they thought it might be a turkey, and I was going to say there are no turkeys here, but that's not really true. In fact, the guy that lives over there, like two streets over, he does have a turkey, and I hear it occasionally. I don't know what his plans are for that turkey. I don't know if he's going to maybe butcher it around Thanksgiving or what. I think he's only got the one though, and I guess it's not impossible that the turkey could get out and come by my house. Although he is still over there confined, as far as I know, in his area. And somebody mentioned a wild boar, and I think that's probably not that. I don't see that being. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but that is probably the least possible between sandhill crane and turkey. I think it's probably the sandhill crane because they run around here pretty much unchecked. The turkey, I think, is pretty good and pinned up, and his gobbles, I don't think, would reach this far. I live in a it's secluded, but it's not. Um, it's definitely it's in a subdivision, but it's very private. Like you can't see in that video, on the other side of those trees up the hill, there are other houses. Can't really see them, but behind me, there's nothing, like nothing for like a mile or so. So, it's a very wild area. I have moose, I have bear. We've had a ton of moose recently coming through, just because it's that time of year. They're coming down. They're looking for green stuff. They're trying to get away from the snow up in the mountains and the hills. So they come down here and hang out. And we've had a couple of times where I want to take the dogs out for a walk or something, and I can't because there's a moose outside, or two moose, and that's when there's two moose. You never know. Like, is that a mom and her yearling calf for last year's calf? Like, they can still be pretty protective, so you don't want to really get in between them. Um, I did have something. Excuse me. I did have something interesting happen the other day that it kind of proved a point that pareidolia is not just for Bigfoot. So we've been having all these moose around, right? We've been having this moose infestation going on, and we've had the mom and I presume her last year's calf hanging around, and I've been kind of wary of them. And we were walking the dogs down the road down this way where there's nothing down there, and my wife is like, "Oh, I think one of those moose is over there," and I look, sure enough, there's a moose over there on the far side of the road, and it's pretty far away from us. It's not paying attention to us. The dogs don't notice it, so we just decide to carry on. We walk down the road a little bit to the point where we turn around. We turn around. We're coming back, and now I'm kind of on alert because I'm like, okay, there was a moose over there. He was pretty far away, but I want to make sure he's not got closer to the road that we're on. So I'm ahead. I have one of the dogs, and I come around the corner, and I see a moose in the tree line, and I'm like, damn it, like he's right there, like he's too close. You know, I don't want him to be that close. And even the dog, I think, was kind of like, what is that? He sees something over there in the tree line. And so I'm like, well, I'm just gonna walk by and hopefully he ignores us. We're still not super close to him. And as we get closer and closer, I'm like, that's not a moose. That's just a bunch of branches that are kind of have like fallen over and are like making like the outline of a moose. So I I wish I had taken a picture. In fact, it's still there. I'm sure I can go back. Maybe if I remember the next time I go walk the dogs, I'll take a picture of it. It's a moose squatch. I'll draw a red circle around it and everything. But it made me laugh just because I was looking for moose, and by gum, I saw a moose. So it just goes to show you what can happen when pareidolia gets its meat hooks into you. Bigfoot, moose, dogman, whatever it is, you're gonna find it in that tree line. I guarantee it. And it got me. It got me. But luckily, I didn't. It didn't. I figured it out. Like I got close enough to it where I was like, oh no, wait, that's not a moose. That's just a moose shaped bundle of branches. So yeah, be careful, guys. It happens. Especially when you get those red circles out. So anyway, let's segue. Speaking of things not being as they seem, let's segue into the main topic of tonight. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's been making its way around some of the Facebook groups. I first encountered it, I believe it was on Reddit, which if any of you are not on Reddit, I suggest you stay very, very far away. Reddit is, I thought YouTube was like the meanest place on the internet. Like I thought people were just blatantly cruel on the YouTube. I was wrong. Reddit is like the worst place on the internet. And I think a lot of that comes from it's very anonymous. You just have your username and then nobody knows who you are, and you can pretty much say whatever you want, treat people however you want. And people do. They are horrible. So if you're not on Reddit, I suggest you stay away. If you've made it this far in life without being on Reddit, just keep doing what you're doing. I do a lot of lurking. I get on there and look a lot of times. The few times I have like tried to interact, it usually doesn't go well. But I believe in the golden rule. Like you should treat people the way you want to be treated, whether it's anonymous or not. And I think people just they probably sense that and they assume it's weakness, and they're just like, we're gonna get this guy. You give your opinion on something, and it doesn't matter what it is, and you can agree with somebody. I have agreed with people, and they'll still argue with you. So just horrible people and contrarians are pretty much what make up Reddit. Anyway, that's kind of where I first came across this, and I saw it, and just immediately, after I did about, I don't know, 10 seconds worth of looking into it, I was like, yeah, okay. Made my mind up about this one. And I was kind of shocked, honestly, by a lot of the, I guess, positive reactions that this was getting, and people that were defending it. And so, uh, apparently, this is it's a photograph. It was taken on, allegedly taken on Vancouver Island by a hiker, a woman. I don't have the original post in front of me, but I do have this one that was from a Bigfoot group. Hiker from British Columbia shared her eerie experience on a Facebook hiking group after encountering a peculiar figure during a remote trek in Canada. She recounted snapping a photo on Vancouver Island of a hairy, silent individual who only glared at her without uttering a word. The woman described feeling shaken as she captured the image and eventually chose to depart from the area. So the picture, I'm going to throw that up here in just a second. It's been associated with this. And again, I hear a lot of squatchy stuff out of like Vancouver Island. I don't know what to think about it. I don't know really how big Vancouver Island is. I guess it's large enough to support a Sasquatch, or they can move around. We were talking about the Aleutians last episode, and about how maybe it's possible for Bigfoot to swim to island. during times of need or whatever. So I assume that Vancouver Island might be in the same scope. It may be an area where they can travel to if they need to. I believe Thomas Seawood is from that area and has researched in that area. So I would probably defer to him uh, on that subject, if whether the island is big enough to sustain them or if they stay there year round. Um, but anyway, let me see if I can go ahead and throw this up for those of you that are listening via audio only. It is a picture taken in the forest. I mean, it certainly looks like a Canadian forest. You know, it looks like there's some ferns and stuff there. These trees are pretty scrawny. They don't look like they're old growth at all. I'm not sure if this lady was on a hiking path or if she was just kind of doing her own thing off trail. But this doesn't it doesn't look well. I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't look like old growth. And then of course you have in the centered in the photograph, you have the figure which appears to be a hairy head and a shoulder basically is all you can see. There's not really any sense of scale. These trees don't look very big. Uh, so I'm assuming this figure probably isn't very big. Although, like I said, there is no sense of scale, and I'm not gonna pull a thinker thunker and be like, let's say this tree is 12 inches wide. So it's I mean, he just pulls numbers out of thin air sometimes, and that's I'm not gonna do that. So we've got this figure. Uh, I saw the picture. You know, obviously the first thing I thought was, "Huh, there's definitely something there." Um, enhanced the picture or not enhanced it, but blew it up. You know, made it bigger and got a good look at it. Once I looked at it for about 4 or 5 seconds, I was like, "Okay, I've seen this before." This is obviously the Amazon suit. The suit. If you go to Amazon and you type in Bigfoot costume, this is what pops up. And I've seen several people in the comments, both on Reddit and on Facebook and other places, uh, make this point. Like this is the Amazon Bigfoot suit, and I've heard several people, or seen, I should rather say, several people arguing, saying, "No, this isn't the Amazon Bigfoot suit because of this reason. It's like it's not the same color. The face is a different color than the Amazon suit." And we're going to get into that just here in a second. But I've got some visual aids here for those of you that are listening audio only. I urge you to check out the video version of this on the Alasquatch YouTube channel. I do not have the technology. I probably do, but I just haven't figured it out to where I can take the Amazon suit and this picture and like meld them together and like overlay them to where you can see how they match. But I can put them side to side, which is what I did a couple of different ways. But here is the Amazon suit, the full body suit. By the way, I looked it up again while I was looking into this, and apparently, who knew? Bigfoot costumes are not immune to inflation because they have went up about $20. I think when I first laid eyes on these, I think they were going for about, I believe it was $75, something like that. And now they're about 90 something dollars. So even Bigfoot costumes are not immune to inflation. Who knew? You know, I honestly would have thought that they had a stockpile of these things and were probably just never going to change the price, but they did. Not that I would ever pick one of these up. Maybe if I was making a movie and wanted to put a recreation or something in there, I'd probably do something else. Probably make my own Bigfoot suit. Find somebody that could lend me some real like Alaskan furs or something. So here we have, in this slide here, we have the side by side, and the biggest complaint I've heard of people who are defending this photo is that they're not the same color. Because obviously, as you see the picture I just put up, and then this picture, the face, it looks more of a dark kind of gray color, a very ashen color. And the figure in the photograph has a very light color, almost a tan, if you will. And my rebuttal to that basically would be, well, first off, I mean, look at the face structure. Like, you've got the high cheeks, the the high forehead here, the five head, if you will, where Bigfoot has some male pattern baldness going on. I remember I was mentioning this in a few episodes ago about how in all these Bigfoot costumes they have like the high hairline, they have the male pattern baldness thing going on, and I was like, I have never in my life heard an encounter where somebody was like, and he had like he had a high hairline, he was almost bald, in like however many years of this I've been doing it. I've never heard anything like that. I swear to God. A couple of days after that episode comes out, I'm listening to some Bigfoot podcast. I don't remember which one it was. My Sasquatch Chronicles or Bigfoot Society, something like that. And there was a dude that had an encounter, and that's exactly what he said. He was like, and it looked like it had male pattern baldness or it had a high hairline. And I was like, Jesus Christ! Like, either he saw one of these suits, or I'm wrong. So there are some like balding Bigfoots out there. But again, this thing, I don't have the technology to like lay one over top of the other. But I mean, there's the faces are structured exactly the same. They have the same sneer. You can see where the lip on one of them goes up. It matches the other one. Um, it does one, the one in the photograph that the lady allegedly took. He looks a little worse for wear. But the main complaint or defense, I guess I've been hearing about this photograph, is how it's not the same color. Well, there's a lot of factors that go into that. A lot of you guys probably don't know, but my day job now is I do a lot of online reselling. Like, I buy things and I sell them online. And that requires taking a lot of photographs. So most of the time, um, during the day, I'm taking pictures of stuff. And to do that, I have a light, like a special light that I use, and I shine it down on my little photographing area. And sometimes I am amazed at how an object, a shirt or a pair of pants, I'll put it down and I'll look at it and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to take a picture of this black shirt. And I will take the pictures with the light shining on it. I will get back to my computer to get ready to do the listing, and I will start putting the pictures on the listing. And I'll be like, I didn't have a gray shirt. I wasn't listing a gray shirt today. And then I go back and look and I'm like, oh, it's the black shirt. It just looks really gray in the photograph because it has the direct light on it. If you remember me talking about your flashlight in my book, Selfless Promotion, Squatch Cop, Investigating and Documenting the Bigfoot Phenomenon, I talk about how you should get creative with your flashlight. When you find a track or something on the ground, shine a light at it from different angles. Sometimes you can uncover things that you can't see with your naked eye with some oblique lighting, like light from a 90-degree angle. And this is no different. When you shine light, remember the dress that was going around several years ago? Was it blue, or what was the other color? Was it white or something? It was white or blue, and people were losing their minds. And this is no different. If you look in this picture that this hiker allegedly took, you can see it looks like there is direct sunlight coming in on this figure's face. And to me, I bet if you track this person down and ask to see their mask, it would probably look very much like the mask in the Amazon photo. It would probably look a darker gray. And people would say, well, that means it's not the same mask. But they don't understand, different lighting, different levels, different angles. You can change the color of something. Um, I again, going back to Squatch Cop, when I was talking about eyewitness testimony, we'd have a hit and run accident, and you'd have witnesses, and like one witness would tell you it was a blue car, another witness would tell you it was a green car, and then some other witness would come out with something fucking like out of left field, like it was a yellow car. And then if you did eventually track down the suspect vehicle that did the hit and run, you'd find out that one of them was right, one of them was wrong, and then the third one was like freaking blind or just lying. So, eyewitness testimony, it can change. There's not a blue car and a green car, easily, easily can get those two mixed up in the right lighting conditions. People will ask me questions about things I post online, to sell. They'll be like, "Well, is this like an aqua blue or more of a teal blue?" And I'm like, "I don't fucking know. It's blue." Like you just gonna have to look at the picture and do your best, because I'm I might look at it and think like, well, that's a dark blue, and then somebody else might look at it and be like, well, no, that's a navy teal. Like people get weird when it comes to colors. Like it's very subjective, more subjective than it probably should be. But in my opinion, this is the same mask, or very, very similar. It just is. And I've got another picture here I'm going to show you. So this is the same mask from a different photo, and you can see that this it looks closer to the one in the hiker picture. It looks a little brighter. It looks more tan, like the one in the picture. And again, it's just because of lighting and angles. That's it. It's the same mask. It's the same picture. Uh, I don't understand why people think that all these Bigfoot that are getting caught on in photos have the exact same hairline, facial structure, and grimace on their face. It boggles the mind. This costume is actually one of the reasons why I stopped participating in Bigfoot Facebook groups. There was someone that had taken a picture and claimed that it was in Alaska, and I got a picture of that suit and posted it and was like, no, I think it's a suit. And people were like, why are you even in here if you don't believe? So I was like, maybe there is a better use of my time other than trying to educate these people. So now if you come to me, this is what you get. I'm not gonna seek you out and educate you. You've got to come to me. But yeah, I think it's 100% that suit. That suit has probably fooled so many people. I wish that you had to. I wish those things should be harder to get than freaking guns. Okay, you should have to do a background check to get one of those freaking costumes. But here we are. There was another one. They sell a white version that's like a Yeti or something, and there was an Instagram account that's fairly popular that had posted one of those that was supposedly taken from like a military. I don't know if it was a satellite or a plane or something, and it was the white Amazon costume. And I'm like, dude, that's the white Amazon costume. He's like, no, there's nobody out there. There's nobody there. And I'm like, there was somebody out there in a freaking white Yeti suit, because that's what it is. It's got the same. It's the exact same suit as this one. Only I think maybe it has fangs instead of that sneer. But it's got the same hairline and everything else, and it's a white costume. And I don't know if the guy was being cheeky or if he actually believes that there's a white Amazon Yeti walking around out in the desert. But if he really believes that, he got. I'm sorry, they got him. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe I will have a sighting one day, and I'll be like, "God damn, that was just like the Amazon costume." Like whoever designed that costume must have had a sighting and like designed the costume after it. It's like, how do they eat if they can't move their mouth out of that sneer? Like their face is like palsied in that in that in that sneer. But Yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's the same. It's the same suit. There lighting can be attributed to the color change. I wouldn't even call it a color change. It's just discrepancy in the color. Happens all the time. Take something and lay it on the ground and shine like a bright fluorescent light on it. And if you do enough items, you're going to find something that like, huh, that was black, but now it looks gray, or that was blue and now it looks green. Like, is this because I do that shit all the time when I'm doing listings? I'll take a picture of something and I'll be like, all right, this is a green blah 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 shirt. And then I'll throw the picture in there and I'm like, wait, is it green or is it blue? I better go get it and check. And then I'm like holding it up to the light, like liar, liar, like the fucking shirt is green. Is it blue? I don't know. And then I'll just say it's teal. And then somebody buys it and they say, why did you say this is teal? This is green. So subjective colors. I don't know what to tell you guys. But anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you this week. Hopefully I will be back next weekend. I don't know. Like I said, I've got a commitment this weekend. I've got to go do some dog setting, and I'm gonna do some writing. I'm gonna treat this as kind of a little writer's retreat. I've been working on my new book, and I just haven't been able to get it pounded out. Usually by now I'm releasing my new book this time of year in the spring, and I am not done with it yet. So we'll see what happens during this little getaway that I have planned. This little working vacation writer's retreat. I plan on basically taking care of the dog and maybe going to the movies because it is in the big city where they have multiple movies, and writing. Like that's it. Eat, sleep, write, go to the movies, take care of the dog, eat, sleep, write. So hopefully I can get it knocked out over this weekend. We'll see. I got to be disciplined. But that's it, guys. Please head on over to the AlaskaWatchPodcast.com website. There's a little store in there. You can go in there, you can peruse, look around, if you purchase something, you can purchase any of my books. I will autograph them for you, put any kind of personalization on there you want, and ship them to you from the Great White North to wherever you are. Everything that you spend goes to support the show and getting me out into the field. Gas isn't cheap anymore. Neither is food or anything. Podcast hosting, that stuff costs money. So I appreciate your support. Also, if you find yourself on the way to Alaska, if you're going to come up here and spend any time, there is a fishing charter up here that I would like you to check out. It's called Bros Outfitters. It's located in Homer, Alaska. This is not a paid promotion. This is a buddy of mine. So if you're going to come up here and you want to plan a fishing trip, look into it and tell them Bean sent you. And I'm sure they will give you friends and family discount or something. Just tell them I asked you to tell them to give you the friends and family discount. That's Bros Outfitter, BROS, like brothers, Bros Outfitters. And head over to Will Ulmer's channel and check out his video of what his I don't know, or we're calling it a sighting, whatever he saw. It's fascinating, and he does good work. I think that he is one of the unacknowledged greats when it comes to Bigfoot research, modern research. He has a lot of good content. He doesn't blow it out of proportion. He's not, there's not a lot of hyperbole, and he keeps it grounded. And I think if he sat down one day and did a video and talked about some of his like theories and things that he has hypothesized, I think that it would blow a lot of people's minds. But anyway, guys, that's it. That's all I got for you. Thank you for your support. The cheapest way to support is to like, subscribe, share these videos, and leave a comment. But I also appreciate money. So head over to the store and get yourself something nice. And I will hopefully see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching.